They had no GPS, no maps, no compasses. Yet early humans crossed deserts, sailed oceans, and found their way through endless forests without getting lost. They weren't wandering blindly. They used secrets hidden in nature itself, secrets so powerful that without them, humanity might never have spread across the planet. Picture this. If I dropped you in the middle of a forest with no phone, no compass, and no map, could you find your way out? Most of us would panic. But thousands of years ago, people faced this reality every single day. For them, knowing how to navigate wasn't just useful, it was survival. And that's what makes this story so incredible. Our ancestors figured out how to turn rivers, stars, winds, and even songs into living maps. These weren't tricks or guesses. They were systems honed over generations. They allowed humans to migrate, trade, explore, and settle lands far beyond what seemed possible. The mystery is simple but deep. How did they do it? Traveling in ancient times was dangerous. In deserts, a single wrong turn meant death by thirst. At sea, missing an island by just a few miles could doom an entire canoe to drift into oblivion. In forests, losing track of landmarks could separate hunters from their tribes forever. Every step into unknown territory was a gamble. Yet somehow humans managed not only to survive but to thrive. They didn't have compasses, but they had sharper senses and collective memory. And over time, they cracked the code of the natural world. The first secrets of navigation were written on the earth itself. Rivers were lifelines. They provided water, food, and predictable paths. Walk along a river and you'd never truly be lost. It would always lead to a bigger river, a lake, or the sea. That's one reason the Nile, the Tigris, and the Euphrates became centers of civilization. They weren't just resources, they were natural highways. Coastlines worked the same way. If you stayed near the sea, you always knew where you were. Scientists believe early humans leaving Africa followed the coasts of Asia, moving step by step until they reached India, Southeast Asia, and eventually Australia. This coastal hopping explains how migration happened so fast. Mountains weren't just obstacles. Their peaks acted like beacons. In the Andes, Inca messengers could recognize distant summits to orient themselves. In Europe, Celtic tribes told stories about mountain spirits, myths that doubled as memory aids for travelers. And animals were silent guides. Herds carved trails across landscapes, which humans quickly adopted. In North America, deer and bison trails became Native American roads, later turned into colonial wagon paths and eventually highways. The routes we drive today might have started with animals thousands of years ago. Even in the Amazon rainforest, where everything looks the same, tribes planted useful trees along paths. A line of fruit trees wasn't random. It was a breadcrumb trail left for future travelers. But the greatest map of all was above our heads. The North Star, Polaris, became the most trusted guide in the Northern Hemisphere. It never moved, always pointing north. Egyptian pyramid builders aligned their monuments with it. Greek sailors steered by it across the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, in the Southern Hemisphere, travelers used the Southern Cross to find south. Polynesians took sky navigation to an art form. They memorized star paths, sequences of rising and setting stars that guided them across open ocean. By shifting from one star to another through the night, they could keep a perfect course. This knowledge let them settle islands thousands of miles apart, long before compasses existed. In the 1970s, navigator Maupiai Lug proved this skill still worked. Using only traditional star navigation, he guided a canoe more than 20,500 miles from Hawaii to Tahiti, arriving exactly where he intended. During the day, the sun was just as valuable. Desert nomads tracked shadows to find direction. Vikings may have used sunstones, crystals that revealed the sun's position even through clouds. Monuments like Stonehenge show how ancient people aligned stone pillars to solstice sunrises and sunsets, creating calendars that also doubled as navigation aids. Even the moon helped. Its rising and setting gave direction, while its phases tracked time across weeks. For the Maya, lunar cycles were so precise they tied into calendars that guided both farming and travel. When skies were blocked, humans turned to subtler signs. In Australia, indigenous people created songlines, oral maps encoded in songs. Each verse described landmarks in sequence. Sing the song correctly and you could cross deserts for hundreds of miles without getting lost. These songs were navigation, memory, and culture all at once. In the Arctic, the Inuit read snow and ice like maps. Snowdrifts, shaped by the wind, always pointed in consistent directions. Cracks in the ice showed currents. Even the sparkle of snow under moonlight revealed subtle clues. To outsiders, it looked like an endless white desert. To them, it was filled with signals. On the sea, Polynesians read waves and birds. Swells bouncing off distant islands created patterns that trained navigators could feel under their canoes. The flight of seabirds showed where land lay over the horizon. Even smells carried on the wind, vegetation, soil, or flowers, hinted at nearby islands. To them, the ocean wasn't empty. It was alive with information. Eventually, humans turned knowledge into tools. In the Pacific, navigators built stick charts, palm strips and shells representing wave patterns in islands. In Mesopotamia, clay tablets showed the first drawn maps of rivers and cities. Vikings used sun compasses to steer across the North Atlantic. Ancient Chinese sailors developed instruments to track stars long before Europeans did. These weren't replacements for memory, but ways to preserve it across generations. For all their brilliance, mistakes were deadly. The Sahara swallowed caravans that missed oases. The Arctic destroyed expeditions like Franklin's. The Pacific claimed canoes that strayed off course. But every tragedy taught survivors something new. Warnings and lessons became stories, which became tradition. Over time, navigation became sharper with every generation. Put all these secrets together, and suddenly the world opened up. Polynesians settled the farthest islands of the Pacific, from Hawaii to Easter Island. Vikings reached Iceland, Greenland, and even North America centuries before Columbus. Arab traders crossed deserts with camel caravans stretching for miles. Chinese fleets under Admiral Zheng He sailed across the Indian Ocean, guided by stars and monsoon winds. These weren't accidents. They were deliberate, calculated journeys, made possible by secrets hidden in land, sea, and sky. Early navigation wasn't about tools. It was about attention. People saw meaning in rivers, mountains, stars, winds, waves, and even songs. They carried maps not in their hands, but in their minds and cultures. Today we rely on GPS to tell us where to go. But our ancestors could cross oceans and deserts without a single gadget. They turned the earth itself into a map, and as long as they remembered its signs, they were never truly lost. Subscribe for more forgotten secrets of history that shape the world we live in today.